If you viewed the series of videos on airline financial analysis up to now, you know we haven't spent much time at all talking about how to use what we've learned to make investment decisions. Should you buy airline stocks? Which airline stocks you should buy? And it really hasn't been the focus of these videos, and we're not going to spend too much time on it now. But I thought it would be useful if we took a look at the recent performance of airline stocks in the context of what we've just learned. And there are plenty of people who are saying that airline stocks are still a good place to put your money. And the reason they're giving is directly related to all the material we just went through. So let's take a look at the recent performance of stocks and see if that's consistent with the information we just learned. And then we can apply that to future decisions, whether that's investment decisions or decisions you make about the future of the industry. So let's start by taking a look at the performance of some airline stocks in 2013. So I've gone out to Yahoo Finance and chose just 6 airlines. JetBlue is the base, but I have Delta, Alaska, Spirit, U.S. Airways, and United. And you can see that airline stocks for 2013, this is 1 year performance, airline stocks have had just a great year. Even the laggard made 50% in a 1 year period. That's JetBlue. And on the high side, you have Spirit, which is over 150%. Delta is just under 150%. So airline stocks have had a great year, and there are still recommendations that people should invest in airline stocks because they have room to grow. And the reason I hear most often for that recommendation is that the industry has entered a new normal. That's the term that people are using there. The industry is in this new normal. So let's talk about what that is. This new normal that people are talking about is related to the financial health of the industry in the past few years. And the things that they're pointing to are the things we just learned in our previous videos. So airlines are producing positive free cash flow. Our earnings are consistently growing. They're decreasing debt and improving ROIC. And as an industry, there's certainly outliers within the industry, but as the industry, the industry is getting healthier and healthier each year. And some of the things that are leading to this health is reduced costs and improving revenues, whether that's fares or ancillary revenues, and this sort of renewed capacity discipline. You hear a lot of people say that airline managers are finally getting disciplined in their capacity discipline. So this is a graph of global airline profitability for the past 15 years. And if you look at the 4 recent years, 2010 through the present, you can see the airline industry has been very profitable. Not only are they in positive territory, but the levels are quite high. This is $20 billion and consistently profitable for the past 4 years. And this is the period that is being referred to as the new normal. Well, I think if you're going to look at a 4-year period, that's well and good, but you also have an obligation to look at the years that led up to that 4-year period. And now this is only 15 years of a 100-year-old industry, but just in those 15 years, there's been a tremendous amount of volatility. Now, granted, this was a tough decade, but if you look in 2009, if you were to sum up all of the revenues and all the costs, all the profits for the industry, for the entire history of the industry is net negative. The industry has lost more money than it's gained since the inception of the industry. So if you look at a 4-year period and you're hoping that that period or that trend continues because of the new environment that the industry finds itself in, well, that's fine, but it would be, I think, a mistake to ignore the past and the risks that are involved in this industry. And if you think of some of the things that led to these downturns, in 2000 we were heading into a recession, then we had the 9/11 attacks, the industry started clawing its way back, and then the financial crisis hit, and then we finally recovered from that. And I think you have to give some weight to the fact that those risks still exist and could occur in the future. So let's go back to our blackboard. So let's take a look at some of these items. Yes, costs have come down in recent years, mostly through bankruptcy. And in almost every case, airlines' ex-fuel costs are increasing. Revenue has certainly increased, mostly because of ancillary revenue, but average fares have gone up a little bit. That's directly related to the capacity discipline. And it's not clear how long that discipline is going to hold. The things that led to that capacity discipline, so if we go back here, so I hear a lot that airline managers are smarter than they used to be. They finally figured out that they have to be disciplined in capacity if they're going to ensure the viability of their business. But I think the reality is the reason people have capacity discipline was because things were so bad that they were forced to make those decisions. And they were the right decisions, but they were determined by external factors. When you have an industry with these kind of profits, it's just asking for more capacity, whether that's through new entrants or airlines growing their capacity. And indeed, almost every airline that's in a fair financial condition is growing these days. Whether it will grow ahead of capacity is unknown, but that's certainly a risk out there that this capacity discipline will be fleeting. And the other thing is debt. Now, airlines have done a very good job of paying down debt, but there's still a mountain of debt out there. And if the industry hits a downturn, that debt still needs to be serviced. It doesn't go away. So when you're thinking about how long this trend can continue, I think you should think about the risks. So let's talk about the risks and the possible upsides. So the risks that we've seen in the past are fuel spikes, um, terrorist attacks, health scares like H1N1. Um, what else? A financial crisis, financial economic crises, um, and these are all external factors that the airline doesn't have any control over. And whenever something like this hits, the real challenge to the industry is that either costs will spike or revenue will fall off dramatically, and the underlying costs of the airline don't change. So revenue falls below cost very quickly. On the upside, what could happen? Well, fuel could come down, so fuel could be a risk or an upside. I guess traffic could grow faster than we expect. There's not really that many airline merger opportunities out there anymore, so I would say that there's a lot of risk out there and not a lot of upside. So you just have to factor that in when you're thinking about the future of the industry, how likely these risks are to occur, and how long the industry can go before one of these risks hit, and how well they can weather the storm when something like this does occur. So if all these risks exist, and there's this possibility that the fortunes of the industry will change quickly, why are airline stocks doing so well, and why are people putting their money in airline stocks? Well, I think part of the reason is because people who buy airline stocks aren't necessarily long-term investors, they're speculators. And there's a whole lot of difference between putting your money in an industry to make a short-term gain and believing in the fundamentals and the trajectory of those fundamentals and then making a long-term investment decision. The fundamentals of the industry have been improving, and the trend is positive. And I think that's caused momentum in the stocks, in airline stocks. And you could have made a lot of money if you timed it right. While I have no idea what airline stocks are going to do in the future, I can see the possibility of this trend continuing, at least in the short run. While I think those risks are out there, I do think that airlines have a lot of runway ahead of them. And the question is, how long is that runway, and will things change dramatically enough to take away the gains that people have made? And whether you're making investment decisions or just thinking about, if you're an airline manager, thinking about the future of the industry and how that's going to impact the long-term decisions you make, you just have to consider those risks that are out there and the likelihood. You have to assign some likelihood of those risks occurring, and how robust your business is to withstand those risks. So is there a new normal in the airline industry? I don't know. Things are certainly better than they have been in the past, but the history of the industry also shows us that whenever we enter a period of prosperity, you just have to wait a while for things to change.